the length of your breath in and length of your breath out. It really is a good practice. It helps not just with that. It helps alleviate stress. It's a good thing to do for about 2 minutes. When you take your little 10-minute break during the day, you do that little 2 minutes of deep breathing. You sit with a good posture, preferably outside in a place that isn't overly smog-filled. Number 5 is to contract and relax all your muscle groups prior to going to bed, kind of doing a little bit of stretching exercise, which works too. There are yoga routines designed specifically to help you get ready for sleeping, help the muscles kind of relax and get ready to sleep. And they're usually less than 10 minutes in length. So I would suggest looking for one of those and learning one of those. And for you guys out there, sit there and go, yoga's for sissies. Most guys who say that have never done it. The guys who have done yoga usually don't call it for sissies. They usually say, no way, it hurts too much. So, yeah, let's be realistic about that. Number 6 is when it's time to get out of bed, get out of bed. If you're laying in bed and can't fall asleep, and after 30 minutes, then get up and walk around and do something and go through your bedtime routine and lay back down. Number 7, of course, is the hard one, is to stop worrying. At night, when you're getting ready for sleep, and if that mind starts wandering on things, this is one of the problems that I've had in the past, is you start thinking about something, and you keep thinking about it, and actively thinking about it. Well, if you actively ponder things, your brain never goes into that circadian rhythm and starts dreaming and doing what it needs to do to build the new neural pathways, to reassemble and reassess and categorize the new things you've learned and reset all those things. That's what your brain does when you sleep. It does that, plus it does some healing. Well, if you sit there and actively think about something, it keeps you from being able to do that. And folks, that goes the same way with playing video games. That's why you sit there and you're trying to sleep and you think about, I could have done this strategy, I could have done that strategy. Turn the damn video game off at least 2 hours before you want to go to bed, folks. Same with watching the news right before you go to sleep. I mean, come on, guys. I do a lot of writing and a lot of news reporting. I don't look at any news sites on the internet. I don't listen to news. I don't watch news, anything for like 2 or 3 hours before bed. I don't bother with it. The last thing I need is for my heart rate to be going up because some new thing ticked me off. Number 8, move your alarm clock away from you, so you can't just like reach over and slap the snooze, or waking up and watching the alarm clock, waiting for the alarm to go off. Don't do that. Number 9, visualize a beautiful day in the morning. Imagine what your perfect morning, perfect sunrise or whatever would be, and picture that, and then look forward to it. Number 10 is get adequate exercise throughout the day. Not right before you go to bed, though, because you don't want that heart rate up. And like I said, there's yoga routines designed to, slow that heart rate down, stretch all those muscles. They're not meant to exert. They're meant to relax you. Well, you want to get good exercise earlier in the day. The more you exercise during the day, the deeper you sleep at night. And that's been proven. Then find the right pillow. Different people have different needs for their pillows, need different softness, need different distances between their neck and their shoulder if you sleep on your side, or depending on what how you sleep. Everybody needs a different type of pillow. So find the pillow that works for you. If the one that you have is not very comfortable, go spend a couple bucks on a new one. And if you continue to have problems, tip number 12 is to go see a doctor. And those are your 12 simple tips from Christine, along with a little bit of my kind of 2 cents thrown in there from my experience. Now, if you have any experience with sleep or sleep disorders, or trying to quit smoking, or anything along those lines, and you want to call into the show and share your experiences, or talk about any of the things going on with our lovely government, of course, go ahead and please give me a call here at 520-226-8567, and we're standing by and waiting for anybody who wants to call in and discuss something. And of course, this show is rated PG, as in for Paul-Gregory. And also, we like to keep this mostly family-friendly. Although I've been told recently talking about smoking is not family-friendly. It automatically will elevate the rating of your movie from G to PG-13 if you have one incident where somebody is holding something that resembles a cigarette. That's a crock. People out there policing what we do. And that the irony behind that, folks, is they change these ratings to these movies and stuff based on the taboos that Hollywood wants to force upon us, instead of us choosing for ourselves what we're willing to watch or not willing to watch. They're deciding for you and telling you what you should and shouldn't let your kids watch. But parents will still bring their kids, their 10, 11, 12-year-old kids, to an R-rated movie that depicts graphic violence and graphic sexuality, including rape scenes, which are not too cool, especially to subject their kids to. And they have no problem with that, but they're going to say, seeing a scene... Now, parents will still bring their kids to the R-rated stuff. The ratings don't matter. What matters is what parents want to bring their kids to see and when the parents feel like seeing stuff. Not saying all parents, but there are some that will do that. We won't, but there are some out there. On the flip side, you have people be like, oh, you can't bring your kid to see that movie. Your kid's 10 years old. It's PG-13 because there's somebody holding a cigarette. It's not even lit, but they're holding a cigarette in the movie. You can't let your kids see it. Kiss my left knee. That's, between my tibia and my fibula, and on the other side, my femur. There's that little joint between KNEE. Kiss my knee, my left one. So, tell me what's in the movie. As it is, even with G movies, we'll still screen it before letting the kids see it. We want to know what the kids are watching, because sometimes even with G or PG movies, there's stuff that's ideologically in there that we don't necessarily agree with. They try to preach if you earn something and you worked your butt up for it, you need to give it to somebody else who can distribute it to other people who aren't as fortunate as you are to have worked their butt off yet. They haven't worked yet and earned anything yet, so you need to give something to them. No. You earned it. Do with it what you will. Now, does that mean if somebody's hurting and you think out of the kindness of your heart you want to give to charity, that, well, yeah, you should. It's yours. You earned it. You can do that. It's a good thing. But somebody else comes to you and tells you need to give me so I can distribute it for you to those that I think are deserving or not deserving, you kiss my ass. It's my money. Kiss my right knee on that one. So that's kind of my take on that whole thing. But we're kind of go off on all sorts of tangents today, folks. So let's try to reel things in closer to where we normally discuss things.
You don't have a right to know everything in a separation of powers government, my friend. That is the difference between a parliamentary government and a separation of powers government.
Yep, how about that, folks? Yeah, you don't have a right to know. Well, guess what? Congress is back in town. Most of them are back in Washington, folks. Time to duck. Time to get those knee waders out and those shovels ready. Wear the splatter shields, because things are about to get messy. You know that general election season, for the most part, is kicking off, because most of the primaries are done, and November is coming up soon. We are now in the final stretch, trying to get some form of a budget passed by October 1st, when the new fiscal year kicks in. And of course, folks, this is something that hasn't been done in, what, a decade? Maybe even more? When was the last time Congress passed a budget on time and passed a budget within the something close to balanced, something within the what's the word I'm looking for? Projected revenue. I don't think it's happened in my lifetime, folks. And I haven't quite hit half a century yet, but that's I'm coming up close to that. So that's kind of a long time. I wish we had gotten to the point in the show where we could give away prizes. But I will tell you what, I will think of something within my budget, my very limited budget. I will come up with something. If someone can call in here by the end of the show, this is, of course, area code 520-226-8567. If somebody calls in by the end of the show, or within 24 hours of this time, and it is currently 8:30 a.m. on Tuesday, September 2nd, 2014. So by 8:30 a.m. on the 3rd, leave a comment either on the YouTube or on the Blogspot page for this podcast. Or call, like I said, call into the show and let me know when the last time the federal government passed a budget on time and within the projected revenue window. In other words, no deficit spending, the closest thing you can come to a balanced budget that it seems that the federal government is even possible of doing at this time. Tell me when the last time that happened was, because I would really love to know, because I know it has not happened within my lifetime. And if I'm wrong, okay, I need to be educated and enlightened. So, folks, Congress back in town. They go back into session officially with their first floor votes and floor sessions on the 9th, which is a week from today, which means they're back in town. They're going to sit there and have some committee meetings, and they're probably going to take off Thursday evening, Friday morning, somewhere in there, enjoy a weekend, and then come back sometime on Monday afternoon and be prepared for their floor votes on Tuesday morning next week. So they're still going to have another 4-day weekend, so it's going to be 2 in a row. Well, wait, they just got off of vacation. Well, some of them were on vacation. Other ones were doing what they're supposed to do. Other ones were campaigning, claiming that campaigning is doing their job. It's not! Campaigning is just begging to keep their job if they're an incumbent. But some of them were campaigning. Some of them were off holding town halls and actually finding out what the issues were, what they need to take back to Congress with them to work. That's what they're supposed to be doing. The senators that are not up for re-election, it's not the end of their term yet. A lot of them were doing that, whereas other ones were out campaigning for their fellow like-minded individuals. Because you can't say fellow conservatives, because it wasn't just conservatives doing it. You can't say fellow progressives, liberals, left-leaning communist socio-scum doing it, because it wasn't just them. It wasn't just the libertarians, who, good luck. Sorry, folks, I love the libertarian message. I love the ideology behind the party, but unfortunately the party is broken. The party itself doesn't know what it stands for, and you can't get two libertarian candidates to agree what the platform of the party is, which is a good thing in some aspects, but bad when it comes to trying to win any form of a federal election. So when I say good luck to the Libertarian Party on the federal level, I mean it. And I had my break, folks, with the Libertarian Party back around September 12th, 2001. I was a long-time member of the Libertarian Party, but shortly after the attacks by Al-Qaeda against our nation on our own soil, the Libertarian Party, of course, started preaching the don't go to war, blah, 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 blah. And, well, I was looking at things from the standpoint of somebody who actually knew what was going on, somebody who was working in the intelligence field, and said, you guys are idiots. You have no idea what you're talking about in this case. You're sitting there trying to push an ideology that is not based in reality. If you don't want another attack like this to happen, you have to strike them hard on their own soil or where their own nests are. You have to disrupt them. You have to hurt them and hurt them bad. You have to get inside their planning cycle and make it so that they cannot plan another attack. That's the only answer to keep us safe. Because otherwise, if we try to just be pure defensive, ain't happening. It's like standing there with a baseball bat, or better standing there with a tennis racket. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, you have 100 people with a tennis ball, and they're all going to throw them at you. And you have to defend yourself with that tennis racket from all of them at once. You can't do it. Now, if they're all standing there trying to pick out their tennis balls and trying to figure out who's going to get one, and you have 100 tennis balls on your side, and you start serving your tennis balls at them with your tennis racket, and if you hit them, they're out, and you start before they can pick theirs up and throw them at you, you stand a lot better chance of defending the one or two that are left. So that's kind of a way of stating my mentality versus what the Libertarian parties seem to be on that day. So that's where I have my brick. I still side with them on most economic things. There's a couple other little things that I've gotten a little bit more mature and looked at things and said, you know, ideologically they sound great, but in reality that just doesn't work. So, but I think the biggest one is their whole kind of view of national defense. And there were several others who split from the party. Now, some of them have gone back since, but right now I'm happy calling myself a conservative-minded, independent voter. So that's where I sit, folks. I make up my own mind. I don't vote for any party. I vote for people who I think will best represent my views. And that's really what you all should do, folks. Calling yourself a Democrat or Republican, that's for the candidate to call themselves. If you call yourself that as a voter, then all you're doing is allowing yourself, you're willfully and willingly categorizing yourself, falling into the collectivist trap. I refuse to be a square peg put in a square hole, a round peg put in a round hole, or a square peg put in a round hole, or vice versa. I reverse to be put in any pigeonhole. I'm an amalgamous shape, and I change based on my whims. You go to put me in any hole, I'm going to destroy that hole. I'm going to ruin it from the inside and completely ruin your little demographic collectivist mentality. So don't label me. You label me, I'll label you, and I'll guarantee you will not like the label I put on you, because it'll be the one that you have designed for yourself. And you might not like what it looks like when you look in the mirror. Just saying, folks. Anyway, you've stuck with me so far. There's so many other things we could talk about this morning. And I've gone off the rails on so many things. Y'all can tell that I'm not exactly my normal self. And why is that? For those of you who missed me saying this early on, this is day 2 with no nicotine for me. So, yeah, it's going so far. But yeah, all sorts of interesting things going on. Have you all heard yet? Guess what? I guess the Oval Office and the powers that be finally got tired of being called a bunch of indecisive pansy butts and actually struck against an Al-Qaeda affiliate in Somalia. But of course, these weren't troops on the ground type strikes. They were drone strikes, or even if they're manned aircraft, it was still the we're going to fly overhead, we're going to drop this and hope we hit the target type things. even with all the smart technology